Assalamu alaikum everyone. So the latest news in Pakistani chess is that Dr. Murtaza Ali has secured fourth position in the UAE Blitz Championship, which was held in the Sharjah Chess Club, which, as we all know, is the biggest chess club in the world. So this is a very big news. He came fourth, and he came ahead of many GMs and NMs and CMs, and like he was way above the rest. And in the his performance rating was 2100 something, but in the last round he drew against top grandmaster Salim Saleh with a rating of more than 2650, and in the second last round he actually defeated an international master as well. uh, so in this his honor, we'll be analyzing one of his games between him and National Master Zohaib Gillani. This game is very good and very nice, and both players played extremely well. And I really liked Dr. Murtaza's play in this game. But before that, I'd like to share some pictures of the event with you guys. So over here, I think, yes, this is him receiving money from which we can I think tell that are the sheikhs of that area. I don't know who they are. And over here we have him standing next to all the other prize winners. As you can see, he also received a cash prize from them, which is also very nice. And over here we have this short video clip of him playing the Blitz game, which he drew later on board number one. So we can see that it is under the patronage of H. Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qasimi, and both sides are uh, pretty much focused on their game. So yeah, let's enjoy for a couple of moments before we begin analyzing the game. Nice fast play by both sides. Yeah, that was it. So yes, so now we'll begin analyzing the game. Okay, so Mr. Murtaza Ali had the white pieces, and his opponent was Zohaib Gillani Saab. So Zohaib Gillani is a well-known Pakistani national master. He has a peak rating of, I believe, 22 for 2300 maybe, and currently he's rated at 2242. So yeah, let's begin analyzing the game. Mr. Murtaza is a lifelong e4 player and begins with the move e4. We have e6, the French defense, d4, d5, knight c3, and bishop b4. We have e5, the advanced whenever is on the board, and c5, a3, bishop captures c3, b captures c3, and knight e7. I was looking at one of his games in this tournament, and he had the exact same position against against a grandmaster. So we are safe to say it's safe to say that this is included in his prep. And we have knight f3. So knight f3, a natural developing move, and white usually follows it up by developing the king's bishop to d3 or e2, and occasionally even to b5, even in some lines, and castling king side. So the game continues with queen c7, which is a bit of an inaccurate move. Normally you go queen a6 with a bishop d2, queen a4, rook b1, uh, queen captures a3, and after so and so. Uh, it's pretty much it's not clear who's doing better, but white has gambited a pawn, but he has pretty much I'd say ample compensation. So queen c7, and Mr. Murtaza finds the best move recommended by the engine, e4, with ideas of stopping a6 and b b5 in some lines as you usually do, as well as creating an outpost here on b5. We have b6 and knight b5. Another very nice move. Considering that he had played b6, he probably wanted to fianchetto his bishop, but this move forces the bishop on I wouldn't say bad square, but a worse square than he wanted to be put on. So we have knight d7 and bishop goes back, because over here you don't want to, in the French, you usually don't want to trade off the black's bad dark squared bishop as it becomes. We have knight b d6, c6, castles, and knight a5 with ideas of coming over here. We have rook e1, rook c8, and bishop a6, pressuring this pressuring this rook away from the c8 square. So rook goes back to b8, and bishop goes back to d3. We have h6. Very common themes have been are being followed right now. Over here in this position, it is known that white has a small edge, but to convert that edge into a whole win is something else entirely. So we have knight h4 inciting weaknesses, and Mr. Zohaib does create a weakness, in fact, with g5, but calling it a weakness as of yet is a bit premature. Over here, instead of g5, I think better would have been to continue with bishop c6, bishop a3, and c4, and bishop e2. And over here, black's plans would probably be to castle and start pushing these pawns and work on basically controlling this square over here. Somehow this knight is worsely placed, and he would have a very bad time in trying to figure out where to place this knight. But okay, knight we have a knight f3, c captures d4, getting rid of white's double pawn problems. And to be really honest, I don't see any other way for black to continue the game as well. So we have c captures d4 and knight c4, which is a mistake. Over here, Engine recommends g4 with ideas of starting a kingside pawn push. As the center is locked, you don't have to worry about your king being in the center. But we had knight c4, and over here it's pretty much a forced trade, and it's a very good trade as well. You are ridding your badly placed c3 knight from this very nicely placed c4 knight. C4 knight. So you are trading a bad piece for a good one, and it's forced. So it's really nice. We have knight captures d2, bishop captures d2, and knight comes out to f5. c3, strengthening the pawn chain, and although this pawn might appear weak, uh, it's really hard to take care of this pawn because he has a minor piece protecting it, and this knight in no time soon is going to be able to attack this pawn over here. So a5, this does create a weakness over here on b6, but okay, it's a move which was played. Uh, Queen h5, a very attacking move, very confrontational move. I like it. Uh, Knight goes back to g7, attacking, pushing the queen away. Queen goes back to h3, and queen d8. So all of, as you can see that um, black's pieces in this position are extremely passive. His knight and bishop are stuck on the 7th file. His rook can't be activated. This rook can't be activated. Whereas um, white's pieces have, let's just say, much more prospects. He has the bishop pair, and his rooks can easily occupy open files. So after queen d8, we have the very nice move f4, which black is almost forced to take, because obviously if you don't, he'll take here, and this pawn is pinned to this rook. So this does damage black's structure a lot. I'd say maybe even crippling his kingside pawn structure. If g captures f4, and he doesn't even take back. He plays knight f1, rook f1, sorry. We have knight f5 and rook captures f4. Rook captures rook g8. A desperate attempt, but as you can see, his pieces are very inactive, and I don't see him initiating some sort of attack anytime soon. So, and sorry about that. Rook a f1. A very nice move. What it does, it basically pins this knight over here. Because if it ever moves, this pawn will fall, and eventually his black's entire structure will crumble if this knight ever moves from this square. So we have b5 trying to activate his pieces, and king h1. A prophylactic move, maybe considering g4 if white allows, if black allows, which would be devastational. So black does in fact allow g4 with b captures a4 and g4. Now this simply loses a piece after queen h4. Desperado, I'd say a desperate move trying to save the piece, but it doesn't work because of queen f3. Rook goes to b2 saying if you take there, I'll take here, but after g captures f5, it's a discovered attack on the queen, so the queen has to move to, so we have queen g5, and now we have f captures e6 saying if you take here, I take there with check, and I'm also winning. Bishop e6, and over here a mistake by Mr. Murtaza with bishop e3. Over here, I believe it was better to play rook c1. So what you're doing is, sorry, bishop c1. So what you're doing is you're threatening both this and this over here. You're threatening to take on f7, and obviously after, let's say, rook goes back, you have bishop e2, uh, saying that I'll trade off my pieces and simply enjoy being having much more active pieces than you. Over here, if queen g6 was played, then we'd have this very nice combination where white would slowly pressurize, put pressure on black's structure and convert to a winning game. Sorry about that. Yeah, he'd easily convert. I'd believe a player of his caliber would be easily able to convert this. Over here, another interesting thing to note is that this idea also works. After, let's say, takes, we trade off these pieces, and his attack is pretty dangerous, and he will get mated in the next few moves, as we can see. So yeah, over here, white will get mated in the next few moves, but okay, this wasn't played. What was played, in fact, was bishop e3. But what this move does is it allows black a very nice resource, which he does ends up finding, which is simply a3. This pawn is simply too fast to catch. And over here, rook g1 was played, a very big blunder, forsaking any and all advantage which he had in the position. Over here, better would have been to go back with the bishop c1 plan, which we aforementioned, and a2 even. Over here, Mr. Over here, obviously you can't uh, take because then he just queens. So over here, Mr. Ali Murtaza blundered again. I don't know why. Maybe he was under time pressure, or maybe it's just the pressure you face when you're up against a very strong player like Mr. Zhoaib Gillani. So we had rook c1. Maybe his idea was to push this pawn, which either way loses. But over here, it's also interesting to note if rook captures g5 was played instead of rook c1, then we had h captures g5, not even queening first. Bishop f6, a1 is equal to queen, rook a1, as a1 is equal to queen is winning. So yes, so after that we had queen captures g2 after rook c1, we had queen captures g2, queen captures g2, bishop captures g2, and knight and rook f3. Over here, the game is pretty much lost. So rook captures h2 was played, king g1, rook b g2 check, king f1, h1, four straight of rooks, and after this, white black simply wins by bringing a queen into the game. The game continued for a few more moves, but to no avail. Both white tried to come back into the game, gave some checks, tried to make some use of his active pieces, saying that maybe his queen and bishop alone can't do much, and try to salvage a draw. Maybe it's not winnable. But after a few moves and a few checks, white eventually resigned after king g4 and queen captures d4, because there is nothing more to be done. This pawn will fall, or these pieces are weak. This bishop over here is weak, and black will simply have too much of a material advantage. So yeah, this was the game. Hope you guys enjoyed. Do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and yeah, see you next time.